Hello, welcome to another bonus episode of Hockey Inside Out. Now, the Anaheim Ducks have been restricting the play of their second overall pick, Leo Carlsson, easing him into the NHL. Do you like this strategy? Do you think that this is something that maybe the Montreal Canadiens should try with some of their prospects, perhaps Slafkovsky, Rick, being a former assistant coach? What's your thoughts on what the Anaheim Ducks have been doing?
Well, I think it's important to realize these guys are young men that are trying to find their way at the NHL level. And that being said, each and every one of those guys, that the expectations, because they're first rounders, are very high, but it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand as far as the maturity goes. So the personality of these guys is different from one guy to the next. And one thing will never change is you have to make sure that you try and handle them in such a way that you don't overburden them in situations where they lose on the development curve versus piecing their way along, at the NHL level. And like I said, everybody's different. You got to handle each guy in a different way to make sure that you're going about it in the right development situation, if you will, and allow them to progress in a good way. So you have to, and I think one thing about the Canadiens management, they have a real good feel for understanding the personality of the players and try and do what's best for them to get them to the next level sooner than later. And again, there is a process, young man, but each one is different, and they try and identify what they need to do and give them the best opportunity to improve at the NHL level.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I think there's not a big loss from missing a game here and there for a young player. And I think seeing things from the bird's eye view might give you a better understanding of where you need to be in certain situations. You know, I've seen former players talk about, early in their career, healthy scratches, being upset about it. But then you see maybe somebody doing your job and not missing an assignment where you would miss an assignment and figure out, hey, maybe I got to get back in the lineup by doing the right thing. But Leo Carlsson seems to be getting a lot of minutes when he is playing. So I'm not sure if it's just them trying to stretch before they hit the 9-game mark and make a decision on him, or if it's a developmental strategy. I think if I were a coach, I'd just tell the player ahead of time, like, these are the games that you're going to play. These are the games that you're going to sit out, barring injuries, right? And then maybe it's a little bit more clear. The player knows what to expect. You tell them what to look at when you're up in the rafters there. But overall, not the worst idea, but not the cleanest developmental strategy either. I mean, we see what happened with Shane Wright last year in Seattle, and that was, a little bit brutal, I think, for him. And you talk to people who watched him in junior, and he was a shell of himself in junior last year, despite the production. It wasn't until he started playing in the American Hockey League that he started playing strong hockey. So it's a dicey game, this development thing.
Yeah, in the NBA, they call it load management, I think, right? It's sort of, when Jordan Harris first came up from university, they did that with him. He played a couple of games, and then St. Louis wanted him to sit in the press box and sort of see things and watch things. The Canes also have Adam Nicholas, their player development guy, and he'd be a good guy to sit in the press box, which probably beside him watch a game. I understand why they do it, but I think you might be right also, Andrew. I think that maybe Anaheim just wants to extend the period before they have to make a decision on whether they send them back or they keep them. But it's one of those things. Young guys got to play. You really have to play. And you look at the Canes, the difference in how they handled Reinbacher. They sent them early. They wanted him to go back to Europe and play a ton of minutes, and then they've had a totally different approach with Slafkovsky. And they need to play a lot. That's why I think sending Slafkovsky down to Laval and playing him 20 minutes a game would be a good thing for him. So it depends on the player, too, I think, and the maturity level or whether they can handle it or not. We saw the Canes also last year. They had that sort of rotation with their young defensemen at one point when they were rotating guys, having different guys sit out. I don't think it's horrible, but I think the best way for a young player to develop is to play a lot, whether it's in the NHL or the AHL or sending him back to junior. And Shane Wright, as you mentioned, Andrew, and what the way Seattle handled him, like why they didn't just send him right back to junior if they weren't going to play him and just have him play a ton of minutes down there is a little bit surprising.
I also think it's easier to have a strategy like this when you're in Anaheim, a market that isn't a hotbed for hockey. Could you imagine here in Montreal the amount of questions?
Anaheim might have one reporter at practice on a good day. So yeah, it's not the same. There's not the same pressure on the coaching staff or whatever as there is in Montreal.
Exactly. For all your Habs news, make sure you check out Hockey Inside Out. And of course, leave a comment in the section below what you would do. Could this strategy work in Montreal, or do you think it's just easier when you're in a market like Anaheim? And check out hockeyinsideout.com to see our full episode.